Hello, YouTube viewers, everybody out there. How are you doing? It's the morning, the evening, the afternoon, wherever you happen to be tuning into this live event. Big Papa T Dog right over there. My name's Elder. However you want to see me tonight. Got the clown hair going on, so I gotta get this shit cut. But we're watching some good old-fashioned Chris Hansen. Just going over this whole event. He's interviewing Shilo, one of the original interviewees, the victims, and I don't know why I put quotes, but they're victims in general. We're just going to watch it, review it. You're going to be up here if you want to watch it live with us here tonight. You can come and hang out. Anybody in the chat, I'm going to be responding. Haven't seen you guys in a while. And yeah, we're just going to hang out, and you can hang out and chill with us and do your thing. But guess what? I don't know how you feel about YouTube these days, but we can have a longer form discussion if anybody ends up popping up into the chat. But as it stands for me, we're just going to get into watching this video and reviewing the Chris Hansen Onison situation. Scumbags of the earth, or simply misguided YouTubers? Let me know what your opinions are in the comments below. And before we get started, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can always donate through Streamlabs. I have the links in the chat, and I don't know. You can donate through PayPal, do all that sort of fun stuff. Just go and chill, hang out, do your thing. But we're gonna watch this shit. Hang out, do your thing.
Everyone, Chris Hansen here from New York City, and you are having a seat with Chris Hansen on my YouTube channel. Once again, we are deep into the investigation of Greg James Jackson Onison and his spouse Kai. We are very fortunate tonight to have with us Shilo. She's been on this program before over the weekend on assignment in Los Angeles. I had a chance to spend some time with her again, and we're fortunate to once again have her back on the show with perspective to talk about this case and where we go from here. Shilo, first of all, it was wonderful to see you this weekend in Los Angeles. You and your agent, Ryan, you look great. It sounds like you're doing pretty well as can be expected.
Oh man, it was great to see you. Even after you left, we had a great time. It was
the young people stayed out.
We definitely did. We did. It was a great night of some rock music. We got to chill out, relax after all of the tense feelings that we have around this whole thing. So it's good to see you and kind of like the natural element.
Well, I appreciate you coming back on the show. The first interview you did was so important and so groundbreaking in this entire investigation of Onison and Greg James. And I wanted to pick up a little bit from where we left off and then get into some context here because so much has happened since the first time we talked. But let's start here. You I don't want to say went dark, but you took a break from social media for a while. Were quiet. Why was that important to you?
Well, I mean, I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, there's a lot of layers to why I went quiet, but the biggest one being, I went quiet because of Onison for a very specific reason, and that when I told my story, I got bombarded with so much hatred, and it was drama all the time. People spreading rumors that didn't even make sense. People taking things out of context, twisting things, himself twisting things. So I eventually went quiet. I mean, it affected my personal life. It affected, meeting new people and then immediately knowing who I was, or, just simply like, hey, I'm Shilo, like, nice to meet you. And then somebody pipes up in the group about what you do or the fact that you're a musician, and they go and Google you, and the first thing that comes up is all this Onison crap. And so I went quiet, and it did me good because I was able to regain an anonymity to my life. And, like I've had guys go on dates with me and then confess to me halfway through it, like this was a dare. We just wanted to see if you were really as crazy as he said.
Really? So the guys actually sought you out because of the attention you got because of being victimized?
Yeah, it happened. times because they wanted to see if I was the crazy, like psychopath that he made me out to be. And then
Hey there, Sandra. Good to see you popping into the chat. So essentially what we're talking about tonight, I don't know if you have heard this story, you're saying that you haven't, but pretty much what's good is that there's a dude on YouTube, Onison, and he has been manipulating young individuals and grooming them into being sexually active once they become of age. So starting at a very young age, within the age of young, too is too young. Like everything's bad about this whole situation. There is a lot of stuff to go over. If you don't have a full context, I can't really give it to you right here, right now, because I'm going into this video assuming that everybody that comes in is already very well aware of what's happening. I do have other videos on the topic. If you go into my videos, go into the search, type Onison, and it'll pop up. But you just type Onison into the search bar on YouTube, and you're gonna find a million people talking about this. Okay, Buddy is fucked. Okay, and he's not somebody that you want around your friends, children, anybody that who's Shilo. Shilo is an ex-girlfriend, ex-wife, actually, of this individual who has groomed and manipulated multiple individuals. And she's just discussing her journey throughout this situation because she was one of the first people to speak up about the topic and bring to light just exactly what he had been doing to different people and the backlash and reaction that she got from speaking about it. So that's essentially, I assume, what she's going to be talking about tonight. And Sandra, never apologize. You don't need to be you don't need to be sorry. There's no reason why you should know this creep's name, this freak of nature. But I'm letting you into the secret tonight because it shouldn't be something that is kept secret. It should be something that's mainstream. So it should be something that everybody's talking about and something that people are aware of. I've seen a few of his videos that he's annoying. Yeah, of course, Lizelle. Onison is probably one of the most annoying people I've ever seen on this entire platform. But let's continue to watch because there are more things about than him just being annoying. Of course, he's not somebody that I'd like to hang out with, but he's actually an individual that deserves to be put in jail. Probably, like the things that he has done. Actually, they build up to being more than just, you're an annoying person, you're somebody that I don't want to hang out with. Like, no, bud, you're actually manipulating and preying on young women and young individuals. And it's almost one of those things, like, I don't know, it's an animalistic nature as a human being. I think that we have in ourselves the drive to protect and support and try to make sure that younger generations and the people that are younger than us grow up and are healthy. And when you see somebody that's doing something that is negatively affecting a younger generation, or somebody that's being manipulated, that does not have the ability to see or to understand what they're doing, it makes you enraged, bud. Like, I just get too upset. So let's continue to see what they have to say, and we're gonna review stuff. Keep letting me know how you feel about this. But once again, a sideshow bob hair going on right now. I'll get it cut soon, but make fun of me all you want. I really don't care. It's it is what it is.
We're sitting there and we're having normal conversations, or just like, being young people, and he's like, hey, I kind of got to tell you, like, you're a really nice girl and stuff, and I don't want to, like, it sucks. So
how did you react to that? How did that feel for you to hear that from someone?
I think I dealt with it after. I'm the type of person where I try to understand where people are coming from. And so I would just kind of be like, okay, I get it. I wish you would have gotten to know me first and then made your assumptions later. But yeah, I got to the point where I just stopped telling people my name at all. I mean, I stopped meeting people in general.
Did you have any idea when you did the initial show a couple months ago here that you would get that kind of a blowback, that kind of a reaction?
I knew, but also I think that, recently I've taken it upon myself to speak to a therapist and kind of like talk about how this has all affected me. And I've definitely got PTSD from this crap, you know, like I've spent a lot of nights just like not myself, feeling like it's all coming down on me again. It's all happening again. And, you know, I've had to really like kind of, you know, put your chin up, Shilo, like this is the end of the pain, and realizing that this isn't reality anymore. But it's all really real. What he did to us, and I mean, like, I speak from all the girls that we're all really messed up from him. And this all coming up again is overwhelming. We're people, and we are just girls that got victimized by a horrible, horrible person. And so I don't think any of us really expected how it was going to feel and how it was going to get us like down, or however it was going to affect us to the day to day. But it has, and I knew what was going to happen, but it still affected me.
You are a public figure. You're an entertainer. You're a singer. You're used to the spotlight, sometimes the drama that goes along with it. But some of the other young women are not. You speak with Sarah, you speak with Regina, you speak with some of the others. Give me a sense for those conversations. I mean, you told me a story when we were together over the weekend, how, you know, sometimes some of these other young women will be in the middle of a shower and almost have a breakdown and FaceTime you from the shower to so you can help them get through it.
I've called them in the same condition. I mean, it was not long ago that I called one of them, and I mean, I'm going to keep names private. I'm going to keep information private because these are my girls. Right. But, you know, I was in a state where I was holding my head and just screaming. And I mean, I hate to just say that this is something that I go through, but if this is something you go through, you're not alone. And I mean, just because I'm in the public eye doesn't mean that I'm not experiencing these things too. And I had to call her, and because she was the only one that knew what was really going on, and she just talked me through it, and I had to calm down. And I confessed to her that I started to relive the feelings, and it's just an icky feeling. It's not, you know, we don't consider this person an ex-boyfriend. You know, we don't consider this person you know, somebody that we had a thing with and it just didn't work out. Like, no, this was our abuser. And realizing that for all of us, it's affected all of us in a very similar way. I mean, like, it affects your eating, it affects your sleeping, it affects wanting to even get out of bed and do your daily like things, and looking in the mirror and not seeing yourself as beautiful or worthy just because of not just what he said, but because what he's made other people say about us. So yeah, these girls, including myself, are going through very, very serious things right now, and have been this entire time. And it's something that I think, you know, maybe a little bit of the community has turned a bit of a blind eye to.
So for anybody who's not been paying attention to this story, and you know, most people have been, most people watching here know your story very well. Sum up what Onison did to you. There was enticement, there was grooming, there was sexual abuse, sexual violence, mental cruelty, exploitation. Am I missing anything here?
No. When I think back, and I mean, I'm almost 27. And when I think back on, these girls are a lot younger, so their experiences with relationships and intimacy have been unfortunately limited to him. And so I have had other experiences in my life to tell me that what he did wasn't normal. It isn't. There is no love involved. And it's self-serving and abusive. And only recently, you know, with my therapist, have I figured out that some of the things that I thought were normal for me, intimacy wise, are not something that, you know, basically is something that came with the trauma and something he instilled in me. And so, you know, I'm going through therapy for that. And it's levels of manipulation and gaslighting and bringing you down in your self-esteem as much as you can to make you as weak of a person as he possibly can make you so that he can control you.
You've had a lot of time to think about this.
Oh yeah.
What was it that made you vulnerable to him? Was it your youth at the time?
Partially, yeah.
Was it his celebrity on YouTube at the time?
Partially. I think it was also that he had, and I mean, I think he's lost a lot of this face, but he had a way of, you know, I think famous people become famous because they have a way of moving their face and moving their body and kind of, you know, enticing you with their charm. I think he had a certain amount of charm. I also, you know, personally for me, I can't speak for any of the other girls, but I thought, you know, this is somebody that will get me in the industry and understand, you know, what I'm going through. I mean, you know, this is a totally different world.
But you were 17 at the time, 16, 17.
Yeah,
right?
and that's the biggest thing is that I had no clue that somebody telling you that they love you so much that they'll divorce their wife for you meant red flags.
Now that you know, have had the benefit of time and perspective, is there one thing that you and the other young women have in common that created the opportunity for Onison to victimize you? Or was he just a equal opportunity predator?
Could you repeat that?
Do you think you and the other young women who were victimized by Onison had anything in common? Did he sense something in his predatory style?
I think we're all very understanding, kind, naive to a certain degree people. Something about being very understanding about all sorts of people and whatever they may be going through and being able to adapt to different personalities.
Tolerant.
Yeah, I mean, I can always say I was that kid that sat down with the kid at school that had nobody sitting with him or her. And, you know, that felt to me like I was reaching out like, hey, I feel like you, like, let's do this together. And so I feel like he really, on top of the fact that he's obviously taken advantage of girls that come from any sort of broken home circumstance. And it doesn't even have to be a broken home. I mean, I didn't necessarily come from a broken home. I was just rebelling as a teenager and I didn't want to listen to my mom and dad. And so, you know, he caught me just at that point where I was going through all the confusion of being a teenager and feeling all these feelings and essentially, you know, wanting a white picket fence. And he offered that all to me on a silver platter.
What was it that finally gave you the strength and courage, Shilo, to break away from him? And I say that like it's over, but it's not. He continues to this very day to berate and try to re-victimize you and the other young women involved in this matter.
Yeah, I still feel very weird flashback feelings of a Stockholm syndrome like attitude sometimes that I have to curb because of what he's done. And I mean, I've been in love. This was not love that I had for this man, but whatever he did, it stuck. And he did it for just enough time. And why I say that is that if my mom hadn't taken my passport from me and I hadn't been able to be kind of almost caged in a sense away from him, I would have gone back. And I don't know what would have happened. I can guarantee you he would have never, gotten me to lure other young girls into the situation. That's for sure. But I would have gone back, Chris. I was still in that mindset of I love him. I fought my mom to go back so many times. The money he sent me to get a new passport. I mean, you know how many times they just said, let's go shopping or let's go do this instead. It was always, let's distract Shilo from this man, because I would have been dragged back over and over again. And many of my family members think that I would have ended up doing something harmful to myself.
After you appeared earlier here with me on the show, give me a sense of what he did in retaliation to you online and in any other way.
I mean, I hear shit. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I hear stuff through the grapevine, and so I can't say that I directly waited for a response or even cared to watch. I still haven't even watched the videos that he made about us. I just hear about them, and so he went on a rampage. I know for sure, going on about some very sexual things on his Twitter, trying to. I believe it was trying to scare us or, put us back in that submissive mindset of, oh, I can't do anything to come up against this man. But I mean, later on, we find out that he's making these tweets while his poor daughter is in the hospital, but that's a whole different subject.
This is after the daughter fell out of the window and landed in the driveway, and he's tweeting, and we know this because other YouTube followers have the transcripts, and we know from the police reports, which I have sitting right here at my desk, that the timing matches up.
And filmed her at that time as well. And so I think during that time and the rest of the girls' interviews, he has been using whatever. I mean, he's not a psychological person. He's just a manipulator. And so what he thinks he's doing is, putting us back into our cave or, putting us back into our place that he thinks that we belong. And all it did was make him look like, exactly what he is.
He made a statement. Again, I'm not going to get into all the things he said because I'm not going to re-victimize the victims, nor am I going to give him a platform for all his nonsense. It's hard for me to even watch nonsense and the grotesque things that he says and spills, and you know what they are. I know what they are. I'm not going to get into it. But the one thing I want to run by you is he said in a recent video that real victims don't speak out. They stay quiet. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the message here. And then he tried to make it look like his spouse, Kai, was a real victim, because he didn't speak out. Who says that? I mean, that's like, okay, then any victim of sexual violence, whether it's in the Weinstein case or the Epstein case or the R. Kelly case or any of these other high profile cases, there are more that I'm working on right now. What threatening message does that send? And what does that say about his mindset? I mean, you would think if you're in this much trouble, if you're facing multiple investigations at the local and federal level, and we know that, it's confirmed, wouldn't you just shut up? Yet he keeps out there. He was so full of himself that after last week's interview with the Sheriff's Department in Pierce County, Washington State, he had the gall to call the Sheriff's Department and complain.
I think that that's probably the most real life thing that's happened to him in a really long time, because other than this, stupid wetlands crap, it doesn't even matter. But, you showing up to his house, he's lived in a dream world, in his small little bubble where nobody can touch him and he can get away with whatever he wants because he's got this giant following of young people that don't understand what it looks like when you're crazy. So right now, I think right now he's trying to backpedal and figure out what in the hell he has to do to that's why he's making all these videos and contradicting himself. And come on, man, like if you're gonna lie like this, at least do your homework. And he's not even doing homework on his own lies. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I think that he's I mean, go back to the video where he's looking right at me and saying, and I mean, granted, at the end of the video, I'm kind of like, making fun of the fact that he's throwing stuff at me. I'm not worried about that part of it. But he says right there, I'm gonna abuse you, I'm gonna do all these things to you and nobody's gonna know. Because you're nothing. That's his mindset. That's how he thinks. And he thinks he's a god, and I don't know. I could go on.
It begs an interesting question, and don't take this the wrong way, but perhaps almost as much as anyone else, you have a sense for what he's doing right now, what he's going through, how he's acting. Take me as best as you can, knowing him as you do, into that house in Washington State. What is he up to? What is he doing? What is his mindset?
I know him to be the type of person where when he panics, he just locks himself away and binges all of the drama, makes videos, doesn't stop. He's probably talking to multiple people right now, trying to convince them of his story, i.e. his Patreons, his followers. He lives on the internet. I doubt he's with his kids. I doubt he's with his partner. I know him to be the person that just faces the screen and doesn't do anything else. I mean, recently I just watched some live streams that he did with Sky before I existed. And she could
Sky being Onison's first wife.
Yes. He could get or she could get hurt in the situation, and or some an argument could start or something, and she would leave the room and he'd just sit there and go, come on guys, make me feel better, and they'll start sending little hearts or whatever it is that they do, and he's like, oh, I feel great, thanks guys. It doesn't matter what anybody else is going through. It's him and his screen. So right now, he doesn't pour kombucha on himself in his spare time. He doesn't sit there screaming and doing erratic things. That's for the video. That's him trying to look crazy, because what he really does is sit there and plot. He just doesn't know what he's plotting about, so he's just doing whatever it is that comes to his mind.
What made him this way?
That's the interesting question. And I mean, I try to think of the possibility of his father being a predator himself, which I personally don't know a lot of information about. I try to think of the fact that he's always lived in this little online world since he was in high school. I mean, he told me himself that it's always been like this. It's always been him and his computer. He never talked to anybody. He used to show me little videos that he took from his, he used to film himself as a teenager while he was in his room. And I don't know what he ever did with them. But he would just film how he lived. It's confusing to me as to why. But parts of me believe that he could have started as an incel, somebody that is angry.
Involuntarily sold it.
Yes, which, I just want to say as a PSA, right now, it does not matter. And I mean, I know this is off topic, but it does not matter who you are. If you're a good, genuine person, stop thinking about the way that you look, women and men. all of you, you're all beautiful, really. Like,
well, that was a part of his, while we're there though, that was a part of his MO, was rating women's bodies, young women especially, 13 years old, objectifying.
When I was young. You know, I hate to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No,
but my opinion was, when I was young, when I was with him, I was attacking young girls for you know, showing any amount of chest, and or wearing too much makeup, or, you know, if I thought they were anything. I don't know what I was thinking. I was, you know, I was completely against abortion. I would attack people that weren't vegetarians or vegans. I was very much so being cloned into his visionary of the world, and I would start attacking people. I mean, this is my body. I choose what I do with it as an adult. And he had me believing that people like Jacqueline Glenn, for example, and I wasn't around for all of that, but he diminished her as a woman just because of her wants. And it's none of his business. And he made me believe that you know, I should never augment myself, or I should never want to even, you know, I mean,
what is it in his mind that makes him think that he can say these things, make these pronouncements, and it's almost cult-like, really, when you think about it. And at some point, we're going to get a cult expert to talk about this, and we've started doing that. But it's how a cult works in many ways.
I've been recently watching a lot of like escaping polygamy and stuff like that, just to like educate myself on what's going on, and it's eerily similar to what he's trying to create. And I mean, I really do think that if he had been able to gain the power, that he would have created a complete community of people that believe in only his opinion.
He is still at it as we speak. He has done and said things that are so disturbing. I'm not going to repeat, but one I think that bears mentioning while I have you here is that one of the young women with whom he was involved, who he victimized, had suffered trauma in the past, a sexual assault. She had confided in him, and he took those details and put them out in a video. What does that say about this person?
The fact that he thinks that it is okay to tell someone else's story,
the deepest, darkest,
to tell someone
horrific thing that's happened to this person.
Yeah, to tell someone else's story like that. And I mean, I have to say this person is like my sister. And I got the call, and it is just absolutely disgusting. And I think that he really thinks that telling that story, my apologies. Ooh,
yeah, no.
That telling that story is going to make him look like that he has some sort of truth in this situation. I don't even know what he was thinking. This is a young girl, okay, that has already gone through trauma enough, and because he has already spoken directly. So here I go. This is a young girl that you already abused, that you already took advantage of, and you told her story without her thinking that it was going to make you look better. It's confusing as to why. I don't have an answer for it. All I know is it is horrible. It is disgusting. It is the lowest of the low. And he laughed and made fun of it like it's something to be made fun of. And I mean, I sit here, me too, you know, saying, you want to come out with this story, Greg? You know mine too. You know what's happened to me too. Why haven't you told mine? Why target somebody so young? He's manipulating. He's targeting her because she is the most recent, and he thinks that he can scare her back into her hole. What he doesn't know is every single one of us is ready to take this until it's at its end.
Has this become a movement unto itself?
Yes. I want it to be bigger than this. I want this to be the step that it takes in not just this country, but this platform. Like, I mean, all social media, people need to be careful and know more. This isn't taught about in schools. You know,
But in terms of, and I want to get into that in a second, Shilo, but in terms of, you know, what kind of started as a grassroots movement involving a YouTube streamer, at least I didn't have any sense of how far this would go, how deplorable the damage, how destructive and despicable these allegations are. This has gone from something on YouTube to, this is a Weinstein movement, an Epstein movement. This is on the level of R. Kelly. And suddenly it's not just people coming on this show. Suddenly there's law enforcement. There are law firms who are also involved in the Larry Nassar case, the physician at Michigan State University who's accused of and pleaded guilty to molesting gymnasts over many, many years. This is the level this thing has gotten to in the demand for justice.
And I want to say, when I first made the Patient Zero Twitter, I made it, you know, in the middle of talking to one of my friends and having enough of seeing one of the victims get talked down for trying to tell her story. And I had no idea that even you would contact me and that we would even be sitting here right now. And on top of all the things that we've accomplished and that we have, I mean, the day his Patreon got taken down, I was like, okay, this could be something. We could really help these girls, that we might actually be able to get justice here. Because I have to admit, I've spent the last 10 years thinking that I was never, ever gonna think, and I mean, okay, 10 years and 8 years, that I really did think I was never gonna get a voice. I didn't think I was ever gonna get justice, especially legal. And so, I mean, sitting here knowing how this is moving, there's more out there. It isn't just Greg. It isn't just Onison. You know, there is more like this. And so when this is over, it isn't over. We have to keep our eyes open.
Yet he's still on YouTube as we sit here speaking right now.
That's the bizarre thing to me, and I don't know what Susan's doing.
Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube.
I don't know what she's doing.
Well, we're going to continue on this show, and personally, you know, I'm going to continue as a reporter trying to get some answers from her. We didn't have contact, as you know, and not much happened after a statement from YouTube as an umbrella policy of, you know, abuse and predatory behavior in streaming. But, you know, I can't imagine that they wouldn't want to come on and talk about this and do something about it in this forum. We're broadcasting the show on YouTube, yet they refuse to come on this show and talk about this very critical issue, both as a specific case relating to Onison, Greg James, and as a general policy situation with other streamers. And you know, and I know, there are other streamers who are facing the same allegations.
Yes, and I mean, it isn't that we're reaching out to Susan just because, you know, oh, hear me, pity me and my story. It isn't about that. It's about the bigger picture. The fact that these people like Onison, have this platform and have this ability to, I mean, I know of 5 that I can, you know, think of right now that are still streaming, still making videos besides Greg. this is a big problem, and it's way past my story, and it's way past this story. It's a bigger issue, and that's why we're reaching out to you, Susan. You don't want to be that guy. That's all I'm saying, is you don't want to be the one that's, you don't want to be the landlord of the serial killer and know about it.
That's brilliant, by the way. Can I just give you that? I mean, that's brilliant.
I mean, I just thought, I was just watching a TV show that reminded me of it not long ago, and I'm like, how could you know about something like that and not inform your tenants?
The landlord of the serial killer.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
You've been going through therapy, intensive therapy, Shilo. How is that going? How has it helped? Has it saved you in some respects?
You're talking to somebody who thought that they would never get it and kind of was like, no, I don't want to talk to somebody who hasn't been through what I've been through. I'm a very quiet person about my trauma and about what I've been through. And I will admittedly say, speaking with a trauma therapist, I'm currently dealing with an eating disorder. Speaking with a therapist that deals with that is, it's very helpful. And to anybody out there who doubts it, you can go through some trial and error. If somebody isn't right for you, you can seek out different help. It is about the energy and the vibe, of course. So find somebody who is right for you, and it can very much so help you. It's helped me a lot.
Along those lines, I have received a lot of email from people talking about, I watched Onison, I was a fan, I never really had direct contact with him or Kai, but from watching him and the things and the content, it made me normalize at a very young age inappropriate relationships. Wow. Age-wise, like younger women especially, with older guys. And I got into an inappropriate relationship because it was normalized by watching Onison on YouTube.
And this is why we say this is a bigger issue. This is why he can't be on YouTube.
I'm not talking about just one or two emails. It's not an aberration. Numerous comments about this.
This is why we need to deplatform these people. Because I didn't even think about that. That is so, wow.
Nor did I. And it honestly, it blew me away.
Yeah, wow, I'm blown away currently. The effects that he has on people. I mean, wow. Yeah,
given all this and everything we know, Shilo, how is it possible that he's still on YouTube doing this? I mean, he'll probably, and I don't want to give him any attention or the time of day, and I'm not going to talk about it after this, but he'll probably release some sort of stupid video criticizing me in some form or fashion and going after you in some way. And, my statement to him is, look, I was a reporter before you were born, and I'll be a reporter, after you go to prison.
Yeah.
I'm just doing my job here, albeit very passionate about it. But you just can't even get into the mind of a person who will go back out and keep at it as he's under multiple criminal investigations here.
What's unfortunate is I think right now, the only thing that's going to take him off of YouTube is him literally going away. I don't think YouTube's going to be the one to take him off. I feel like he's going to go to prison, and then he'll be off YouTube. But then what about everybody else? There's still this platform, and these guys are still able to do this. And I don't want to generalize, guys. I say these people because there's
right.
There's more than just that. It's what it can't. Yeah, I'm confused.
Do you think? I mean, you obviously know a lot about this case because other victims have come to you for support and counsel. Do you think there are other Onison victims out there we don't know about yet?
I lost the first half of what you said, but I think I got the gist of it.
You're familiar
I
with this case, yeah, in a lot of the victims. But do you think there are other victims out there we don't even know about yet?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be, I mean, I know right now that there's, that you've opened up a line of communication for people to tell their stories. And I think it's going to be a lot. And it's going to be hard to weed out, you know, what's really going on. But absolutely, you know, for somebody who's on their computer or their phone all the time, talking to people all the time, you know, with the multiple thousands of people that were on his forums, we can't even say. I mean, he hides the amount of things that he hid from me. I didn't even know that he was talking to, you know, when they were Taylor at the time. I didn't even know that he was talking to that person while we were together. He's so secretive, and he keeps you out so much. I mean, you have your designated area. If you haven't watched Surviving R. Kelly, go watch it, because when I did, I realized so freaking fast how he would build an empire of just, you stay in your place.
Compartmentalizing things.
Yeah. Compartmentalizing women and turning them into males when they turn 18. When I turned 18, he stripped me of all of my girliness, all of my pink, you know, all of my anything. No makeup, no bras with underwires, no girl clothes. You know, eventually my head was shaved. It makes me very, very much so wonder, and I do not disrespect the trans community whatsoever, but it very much so makes me wonder what's happened to Kai. And if that was the process, and if I was the first to go and it just didn't work out, and then he repeated it again and it worked. Well, now he's got a partner in crime.
What does all that say about Kai's culpability here? You know, we focus so much on Greg, James, Onison, and there are, you know, significant allegations against Kai here too, for enticement, solicitation of sexually explicit material online from minors, and all this is under investigation. But you know, we focus so much on Onison. Is Kai culpable here, and to what level do you think?
Knowing what I know from the victims themselves, Kai, you are completely guilty. For the exact reason that I said earlier. There's nothing Greg could have done to make me sleep with a minor, send pictures of my body to a minor, talk sexually to a minor. Nothing. There is nothing he could have done. On top of that, even to bring a third into my relationship. And I mean, to each their own, but that's an adult decision. He could have never convinced me to do that. Ever.
Yeah, he allegedly did with Kai.
And I
multiple accounts.
Yeah, I mean, I am to a certain degree the one that gets ran to when things get traumatic for these girls, and I have to hear about it, and I've heard all the dirty details, and I'm disgusted. Kai is most definitely a predator at this point in time.
What do you say to other young women out there who are fans of, hopefully not Onison, but of other streamers out there who may be involved in similar activity? What do you, just in general, to 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old women who see this tonight, what's your message?
You're young, and I'm not going to discredit your intelligence or your ability to determine right from wrong, but you are young. You are impressionable. I was so naive, and I really I thought I knew. I thought I was on top of it, and just because you're smart doesn't mean that you're experienced, and doesn't mean that you're going to catch it as soon as you see it. So please, please be careful and respect yourself and know yourself, and know that that man or that woman or that person does not care for you. It isn't, and I don't mean this in a general sense. We're not just talking about relationships. If you've got somebody preying on you like that, if you are underage and somebody way over the age is trying to prey on you, that's a red flag. It does not matter what world you live in, that's a red flag, and they do not want what you think they want.
After lying low for a while, you're public again. How does that feel, and why?
Well, I mean, after hearing the details of what happened with his daughter, also seeing in the police report that he made the excuse for filming her as the reason being that he had to film me while I was threatening to commit suicide and such in 2011. And so the fire got lit under my ass again. I'm not stopping. I wasn't going to stop. I was just going to, take a break and handle my legals and everything from the background. But you know what? No, people need to know. And I have a significantly big account on Twitter right now. And so if I can push out information and I can save more people from making the same mistake I did, not just with Onison, but with somebody else, hey, haters gonna hate. That's people are gonna say what they're gonna say about me, whether I'm doing bad or good. So I'm out here and I'm taking the stronghold because I've done this for a long time, and I'm gonna do this for a very long time past this story.
You are back in the studio. You're getting ready to drop another video. Tell me about that.
Everything's going well with that. We want to make sure that it's genuine and that I've taken my time. I'm currently writing the second album, and obviously with all of this mental health stuff going on, I'm taking it slow, but things are moving fast. And on a separate from this story, I'm really, really glad that I can shed the past 10 years of pain so that I can go on with what I've always loved doing, with what I have done before Onison even existed, and I will always do for the rest of my life. Music is my blood, and I'm excited.
How do you think all of this will impact your creative work, your music, your videos going forward?
It's made me a warrior. If you want me to be really honest, no amount of media training could have ever prepared me.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I was prepared for it, to be honest with you. But.
Yeah, no amount of media training, and I mean, I've had 12 years of it. No amount of media training ever prepared me for this, and I can definitely say that, I'm going to be able to take everything that gets thrown at me in this career. And that isn't an invite.
Right, exactly.
That isn't an invite. I'm a good girl. You don't need to hate on me. Right. I will never hate on you back. But, I don't just want to do this to get rich and famous, man. I want to show people that you can get past trauma and follow your dreams.
And not that this is your responsibility, Shilo, but do you feel that you can use your platform, your position as a pop star, if you will, to help other people?
Things, absolutely. And I mean, that's what all people with my ability should do. Like if you have a platform and a following, do good with it, change things with it. Like there's so much going on in this world. You have a power with your voice. You can do good with it. And I mean, that's a perfect example of why Greg is somebody that we need to get off of the internet, because he's using his voice for bad and for evil and for destruction. People with a voice should be using it to change things and empower people and to remind us that we are not these screens in front of us. It's a great tool that we have. It's a great tool that we have, but we are infinite beings and we can do anything.
Is there anything else, Shilo, you want people to know tonight?
Don't give up. This is going to take time. We're not wizards. The FBI aren't wizards. You know, any kind of law enforcement aren't wizards. This is going to take time, but it's happening. And so don't give up. Don't let off. Keep pushing this story. Keep pushing on Susan, because we need him off of YouTube, and we need other people that are doing what he's doing off of YouTube and off of other platforms. Don't give up. And if you've gone through things in your life, traumas, sexual abuse, grooming, any of those things, mental health, you're not alone.
You are smart, you are talented, you are brave. It is my pleasure to talk to you. I will stay in touch and speak with you soon. Shilo, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shilo, everyone. Boy, what a tremendous opportunity, and what a honor it is to have somebody like that on this show. I promise you we'll stay in touch with Shilo and so many of the other people who've been victimized in this case. Attorney Mike Morris joins me now from his office outside Detroit, Michigan. Mike, you've been following this case with me all along. The very latest from Pierce County, Washington State, is that Onison, Greg James, actually called the sheriff's department after last week's show, our interview with a sheriff's representative talking about this case, complaining that somehow this interview violated policies. There was no...
Okay, he just keeps talking. Anyways, this essentially, okay, that was good. Very emotional. We've been talking through the entire chat here. And it brings up the perspective of, like, how should you feel? Very, very emotional. It was an interesting interview, and there's a lot to the story that if you have not seen anything before, I definitely think that you should go and look up some previous information, because tonight on the stream we're not going to be going over any actual background information, but for the rest of the stream we're going to be listening to this lawyer Mike Morse talking to Chris Hanson, speaking about where the investigation is at so far. So what you just heard was Onison's second wife. He's been married multiple times, and that was his second wife, who he is now divorced, talking about how she has been abused. And now we're going to listen to this ongoing investigation. And this is just such a disgusting, weird... We're watching a train wreck. Okay, guys? We're literally sitting here watching a train wreck. That's all I can think. It's just like, something you can't look away from. It's not good. It's not something that you really want to see. I would rather this just not be a thing. I would rather Onison just not even be a character in the YouTube atmosphere. But here we are. So let's keep going. You'll see the rest of the interview, and then we're going to end the stream. So if you got any comments to lay down, I would implore you to lay them down. Let's go, boys and girls.
An internal review, and everything was clear. What does that say about this guy, that he had the gall to call the sheriff's department and complain because a representative did an interview about this investigation?
Well, at least we know, who's watching the show. We know he's watching. We know he's a fan, obviously. No, but seriously, there's nothing. You hear police detectives all the time on TV. It's public record. They're allowed to answer questions, and I think I pointed this out last week. It's unusual how much they're looking into this. The fact that they gave you that website and the email to gather other witnesses, to gather other victims, that's a little bit unusual. Giving statements to you is not unusual, but as hard as they're looking at this case, to me, that's unusual, and it sends off lots of signals what's to come.
19 separate law enforcement runs calls to that house in 2019 alone, including the 2-year-old child falling from the second-story window, the child of Greg, James, Onison, and Kai. It appears, and what I'm learning from the sheriff's department now, is they're compiling a list of victims and potential charges here. And then that information will go along with the sheriff's to the local prosecutor's office to go through, and a case will be made. From a legal standpoint, what's the process from there?
Right. So the police, the detectives are bundling their case. They're gathering their evidence. They're talking to the victims. They're putting it all nicely in a package with a bow on it, and they hand it over to the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor then reviews it, decides if there's enough evidence to, file charges. They decide, what charges should be brought. And that's what they're going to look at. And then they're going to go back to the police or the detectives and say, we are going to issue indictments. We are going to issue charges. And that's the next step. It is absolutely up to the prosecutor's office to make that call, not the police, not the detectives.
Mike, I think it's interesting looking at this from the civil side, and you've talked to some of the survivors, alleged victims in this case, that the families are now telling me they've gone to different lawyers, some of whom were involved in the Larry Nassar case, the doctor at Michigan State University who was accused of and pleaded guilty to charges of molesting gymnasts during physical examinations. It seems to me, and you're the lawyer here, but it seems to me this case is now going from what was kind of a grassroots movement to something that could be much more significant with much more impact.
Yeah, well, the Larry Nassar case that happened right here in Michigan, that was a class action. That was against a big university with hundreds of millions of dollars, with actual damage that was being done by him physically touching and doing the things he was doing. This case is different in lots of respects. A lot of the victims never met these people, never met Kai, never met Jackson. And there's not hundreds of millions of dollars. So those are very important things when lawyers like myself, I'm a plaintiff's lawyer, we have to look at those things. We also look at what the law is, what laws were broken, what damages were done to these women. And I'm, gathering information as well, trying to help other law firms and trying to decide if there's a case here, because this is not, a slam dunk damages case. It's not a slam dunk case with regards to certain of the civil aspects of it. Now, we're still debating whether or not there's a good civil case or not. That is ongoing discussions. There are other law firms looking into this that I am assisting with, and hopefully, we'll have a decision in the coming weeks, coming months.
Mike, as you know, I met with Shilo over the weekend in the Los Angeles area, interviewed her just a while ago. Got her reaction to something that Greg, James, Onison said, which was particularly offensive. And we, as policy on this show, do not go through all the crazy stuff he says because it's just so offensive, and we're not going to re-victimize the victims here. But one of the things he said that I think is worth noting, and Shilo responded to this as well, is he said something to the effect of real victims stay silent. And he alluded to Kai, his spouse, being a victim somehow in all this. I don't know how. That is the most reprehensible, offensive thing that I can imagine in a lot of really horrible things this person has said and done. Having victims stay silent?
It's disturbing. I represented some of the Nassar.
Who says that?
I represented some of the Nassar victims, and when you talk to victims of these type of sexual crimes, and it's hard for them to come forward, and a lot of them don't. I don't remember the exact percentage, but there are victims of Nassar who didn't come forward still to this day, and I think people will understand that. And we're still getting, you and I are getting contacted by people who had contact with Onison back, years ago, that are just now getting enough courage to come forward. So I'm wondering what his comments are about. Is it trying to encourage others to stay quiet? Is he trying to intimidate? Is he trying to silence them? I don't know. Sure sounds like that. I would encourage everybody who's had a bad interaction or has some evidence to, go to your website, find that link and contact the police. Give them whatever information, because the more information that they have, the better. And if all of these things are true, the police and the prosecutors eventually need everybody's help. And hopefully his comments aren't going to stop people from coming forward.
Then there are the potential tangential victims here, Mike, and we talked about this earlier. All these people now coming forward who never met Onison, Greg, James, or Kai, but watched the shows on YouTube and elsewhere, and because of the content, tell us now in emails and this reporting that when they were young, it became normalized to have inappropriate relations with older men and women.
Yeah,
so what responsibility lies there in a civil suit? Or
I mean, is that YouTube's responsibility more so than, if you're creating content and YouTube's allowing it to go on the air, and we now have evidence that young people are watching it and they think, oh, because this person's on YouTube, because this person is a star, they then enter into these relationships with much older men. And then they report to us that they have damages, that they are emotionally distraught, that they're having to see therapists. It's creating lots of psychiatric problems, and they're on medications because of the YouTube channels that YouTube is allowing, and knowing full well that children are watching. I have never litigated a case like that.
And should YouTube be held accountable here in a court of law? That's
the $1 million question. I mean, it's still mind-blowing that they allow him to do what he does. And I'm sure there's lots of other channels that should be censored, that shouldn't be on there. But talking about him specifically, I mean, some of these videos that they allowed on were reprehensible, should not have been allowed on. And the fact that he still has a platform to say whatever he wants, to intimidate, is pretty curious. YouTube is not responding for interview requests. YouTube, I think, had some interaction with you early on, and then they just kind of stopped. So they don't want to take responsibility. They're not kicking him off. And then, listen, what if he gets charged? Are they going to kick him off then? Like, there's lots of things that are in my head. Where's this going to stop?
I mean, there have been YouTube streamers, in the last couple of years who have been criminally prosecuted and have been taken off of YouTube. But it seems that's the threshold here. Should YouTube wait until there are criminal charges before they actually take action? Listen, I'll fight for the First Amendment as fiercely as anyone. But come on, the stuff that this guy is doing really crosses the line, Mike.
It's not entertainment anymore, in my opinion. In my personal opinion, it's not entertainment anymore. And I think his viewership is drastically declining. I don't see as many views as used to when I peek in and I'm trying to gather some evidence, and lots of people are sending links, so I'm opening them and I'm trying to see what's going on. I can't watch everything. You can't watch everything. There's just so much out there. But I don't know where YouTube's responsibility is. I don't know if a criminal charge is what it takes. It shouldn't take that. They should have monitors. They should be looking at these channels. And if enough people come forward and say, he has damaged me, I am damaged from watching these, where does, like you said, where does their responsibility lie?
Mike Morris, thank you very much. As always, we'll be in touch and we'll see you very soon. You can check out Mike's podcast, Open Mike with Mike Morris, at 855 Mike Wins is where you can contact him. Thanks very much.
My pleasure, Chris. Thank you.
Another gripping evening of interviews in this very critical investigation. A couple of final thoughts here. We're going to stay on this on behalf of the survivors, and we'll continue until we see some justice. I want to thank Shilo for being on the show. Mike Morris, as always. We're going to be revisiting a lot of this in the weeks to come. I also want to thank the army of supporters out there who do a lot of work in the background to help put this together. I appreciate it very much. That's my 3 chords and the truth. For this morning, thanks for joining. I want you all to remember this as well. The Pierce County Sheriff's Department in Washington State wants you to contact them if you have any information as a victim or a witness in this this case. The email is pcsheriff@piercecowa.gov. I'm Chris Hanson. Thanks for having a seat with me, and we'll see you very soon on YouTube and on the TV. Have a good one.
All right. Well, we're back. We are back to have a little bit of a commentary as to what is happening here tonight. So, I don't know if you all just witnessed what I witnessed, but for everybody that's out there tonight, I think that we all understand what we just saw. So that was pretty interesting. That was Shilo talking with an H. I know that I had it up a little bit differently. Shilo talking about her victimization of Onison from Onison during her time with him. Second wife, I guess you could say there. She had a lot of disgusting encounters with this individual. And if you have never heard of this guy before, you've just heard of him now. You just watched the stream. It's been quite a while. It's been quite a stream. But yeah, I just wanted to bring this up. I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit. And I was going to watch this anyways. And so I thought I'd bring it up for everybody to hang out and chill out if you wanted to come and hang out with me tonight. But tomorrow, perhaps I will have another video for everybody to watch. But as for right now, this is what we have up. Let me know how you feel about this situation. If you have ever heard of Onison, if you are interested in this situation, if you'd like to see more streams of this nature, if you'd like to if you would like to see more videos of this nature, I will certainly bring them up. There is so much information around this guy. There's so many things that we could talk about. And so, Hanson said it was a gripping interview. It wasn't a gripping interview. But yeah, let me know how you feel. How do you feel about the situation? Would you like to see more information about it? Would you like to see more discussions, topics, discussions, just talks in general? And yeah, if you have any ideas for what you would like to see for future streams or future videos, drop a comment in the comment section below. And yeah, I don't know if you guys know my name, Zelder. And if you're new to the channel, you may not know, but if you're a longtime viewer, I think you know the rest of the slogan. Be your own hero, kids.